Yes, ma'am, we can start it.
Yeah. Ritula, we can start.
Am I audible?
Yes.
When I look into the eyes of an animal, I do not see an animal. I see a living being. I see a friend. I feel a soul. Happy morning to one and all present here. I am Ritula from 2nd BCom PA on behalf of the Sustainability Committee of class hereby presents the theme of today, the World Animal Day. The event is organized by the Sustainability Committee of class. The committee is committed to undertaking green and sustainable initiatives within the campus as well as the society in large. The committee aims to create an environmentally conscious generation who work towards sustainable initiatives. World Animal Day was originated by sinologist Heinrich Zimmermann. He organized the first World Animal Day on March 24, 1925 at the Sports Palace in Berlin, Germany. Over 5,000 people attended this first event. The activity was originally scheduled for October 4 to align with the feast day of Saint Francis of Assisi, patron saint of ecology. Unfortunately, the venue was not available on that day. The event was then moved on to October 4 for the first time in 1929. Every year, Zimmermann worked tirelessly on the promotion of World Animal Day. Finally, in May 1931, at a Congress of the International Animal Protection Congress in Florence, Italy, his proposal to make October 4 World Animal Day universal was unanimously accepted and adopted as a resolution. The mission of World Animal Day is to raise the status of animals in order to improve welfare standards around the globe. Building the celebration of the World Animal Day unites the animal welfare movement, mobilizing it into a global force to make the world a better place for all animals. With this awareness and education, we get to know the effect of individuals, businesses, and other human behaviors on these speechless organisms. Through this celebration, all the human beings gather to provide the rights to our innocent animals and force the world to change. It is celebrated in different ways in every country, irrespective of nationality, religion, faith, or political ideology. World Animal Day 2021 is not about celebrating animal care and protection for just one day, but it's about the lifelong people to pledge to be careful at them and to stop the cruelty. The theme for World Animal Day 2021 is Forests and Livelihoods, Sustaining People and Planet. Several countries celebrate this day differently by organizing contests, campaigns, events, workshops, etc. However, this is no such a day to which we can celebrate in one day. Several animal rescues, care, and support events are happening every day. This is the real celebration of this International Day for Animals. Celebrate animal life in all its forms. Celebrate humankind's relationship with animal kingdom. Acknowledge the diverse roles that animals play in our lives. Acknowledge and be thankful for the way in which animals enrich our lives. With this note, I would like to call upon Professor Preeta for giving the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, I think you're on.
Hi. So, a warm good morning to all here. So, on behalf of Sustainability Committee, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science, I welcome all of you who gathered here for today's event. And we are very happy and proud to observe Day today. And we have a very eminent wildlife conservationist, Nibha Nambudiri, with us today to address the session. And I welcome you. I welcome all the faculty and students who joined with us today. To begin with a short introduction of Ms. Nibha Nambudiri. Ms. Nibha is basically a social and environmental activist with a keen interest on wildlife conservation. She did her master's in zoology and did a Mahouts training course from Kerala. She worked as a research fellow in a project on socioeconomic and cultural aspects of captive elephants and as a district coordinator in Kerala State Biodiversity Board, where she worked in developing environment-friendly management system for captive elephants and survey of human-elephant conflict in and around the areas of Palakkad with a focus on sustainable proactive mitigation strategies. At present, she is engaged in restoration and rejuvenation of River Kundi through a people's movement called Pura. The topic for today's session to observe the World Animal Day is Unseen Tragedy of Elephants. Ms. Niba will speak on the blatant brutality involved in the much glorified use of elephants as a symbol of cultural pride. And she will also touch upon the habitat loss of elephants and issues surrounding it. Welcome you, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you, Preeta. I think I'll briefly turn on my camera. I hope you can hear me. Is it audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. So thank you once again, Preeta, and for the Sustainable Committee members who decided to invite me to be part of your group and to share some of my experiences with all of you.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think your voice is a bit low.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'll try to speak as loud as possible into the mic. I'm also thankful to to Miss Mrudula, who did a wonderful introduction about the concept of animal welfare and the need for conservation. Today being the International Animal Day, it is usually such days make me very nervous and uncomfortable because this is something, it's not a very happy space to be working with animal rights and animal conservation, especially in India, because that is the least of the rights that people are aware of or people think are important enough, so it's a terrible struggle to be working as an advocate for animal rights and for conservation. So normally I try to avoid being part of such days because people come to you with a lot of expectation. They expect you to have answers to most of the questions that are around us. And unfortunately, after my 20 years of being actively in the field, I still feel I have achieved very little in terms of improving the lives of animals around us, particularly with elephants. But anyway, what I believe in is that the process is very important, and it is very important to be part of the journey, to continue the journey, even though the goal seems very far away. And probably the only way to survive this or to overcome this feeling of insecurity and guilt is to believe that this journey will be taken up by others who come after us. And at some point, maybe when we have passed on many, many years later, things might change. So I guess every struggle is like that. It takes lifetimes for things to change. So anyway, today being the International Animal Day, and the topic chosen is about the unseen tragedy of elephants. My association with elephants started about 25 years ago. And I started my career as a very junior person in conservation. And my first project was to work with elephants. And it was a remarkable experience being able to work very closely and understand these majestic animals at such close quarters. And so I think we will go right into the subject right away. Preeta, can I have the first slide? Yes, so this is the lovely picture of an Asiatic elephant. Of course, almost all of you are aware that we have two types of elephants in the world. Basically, they are the African elephant, which many of you have seen in pictures and videos of. They look very different. Morphology is very different. The ears are larger. They are taller. and they have many other unique physiological differences compared to the Asian elephant. So the Asian elephant is the one that looks like this in the picture. And this species is considered to occupy most of the Indian subcontinent and the Asian parts of the Asian subcontinent. And we call it the Elephas maximus, that is the zoological name. So the Asian elephant is a very interesting animal. I'm sure you can never get tired of watching an elephant. Even now, 25 years later, every time I come across an elephant, I just stop and stare like I'm seeing an elephant for the first time. So that is the that is the amount of fascination that comes with this animal. To tell you a few things about the Asian elephant is that it is it's the biggest land mammal. It's very intelligent. It has very advanced emotional intelligence, and compared to mammals, this is in a scale of intelligence. It comes very close to chimpanzees and dolphins. So they have a wide range of emotions, just like humans. They have pain, pleasure. They have anxieties, just like you and me. They have heartbreaks. They have the fear of isolation, being left alone. They like spending time in groups. They also enjoy human company to some extent. To a large extent, it really depends on the individual. And they have unique personalities. Like each elephant is like a unique person. They have their own quirks. They have their own preferences. They have their own temperaments. It's not like you see one elephant and you've seen them all. Each elephant is so unique, and which is why it makes it so difficult and painful to watch and understand the struggles that an elephant is going throughout the world. So we will be coming to that soon. And the next slide is it shows Preeta. Yes, this is again the status, the cultural status that we have given to the elephant, particularly in India. The elephant is revered throughout the world. It has a very unique status, but in India, it has a godlike status. We consider the elephant as an incarnation of Ganapati, the god. The next slide is about this is like a map of which shows the distribution of elephants several thousand years ago. So you can see where all the elephants were seen in the past. So throughout the Himalayan ranges in the northeastern sides, then a little bit of them in the Orissa, in the eastern sides of Orissa, West Bengal, and then most of South India. We had in the Ghat areas where we have the excellent rainforest areas. The elephants are there. Most of Sri Lanka, Borneo, most of the Southeast Asian countries have elephants. And what you're seeing next is a distribution map of elephants in India. So you can see this is a pretty recent map. This is a map by the IESFR. It was called it's one of the most reliable maps you can see about forest habitats and all that. So where you see those shades, the darker shades, those are where you see elephants in South India. And then there are some in the north, some in the northeast, the central population, southern population. So this is just to show you where we have elephants. And the next is this is a pretty significant map because it's called it shows the forest cover of India. And this is where you see the green patches and the different shades of green. These are all the only remaining forests that we have in India. Why this is significant is because, as we all know, elephants depend on forests. They live in forests, not just elephants. Most of our wild species depend on forests. But as you can see, they're all broken down. So something very special about elephants is that they are migratory animals. they travel extensively. That's part of that's built into their biology, the need to travel, because they feed extensively. One elephant requires 250 kilos of green fodder per day. So you can imagine a herd of elephants where a herd of elephants can range from 5 to 100 to 250. It depends on the season. It depends on the needs of the population at that particular time. So you can imagine the kind of fodder that is required for a small herd of elephants. And it is believed that in India, Preeta, can you just wait? Yeah. And it is believed that in India, we have up to, that it is 21.6% of the landmass is under forest. The rest of it has been removed for human needs. And there are almost 30,000 elephants that are forced to live in these little patches of forest. So you can imagine the kind of pressure that is there. And the nature of elephants is that they eat, they come to a place, they feed until that area is completely denuded, and then they go in search of better forests, better fodder areas, pastures. So which is why elephants, you can see, they used to travel from South India even up to as far up as Nepal. There was once a record of an elephant that was radio collared. And this elephant was collared in the south of India, somewhere in the Parambiculam area or south of, in some parts of the Western Ghats. And almost after 6 months or end of the year, this elephant, the same elephant, was recorded in Nepal. He was identified in Nepal. So that shows the home range. We call it the home range. A home range is the space that an elephant uses to take care of its biological needs. So this is the home range of the elephant. All the way from south, it went all the way up to north of Nepal. If the Himalayas weren't there, he would probably have crossed to Eurasia or to the Soviet areas. So why I'm telling you this is where the problem begins. So can I have the next slide? Yes, so before going into the actual issues of the elephant, I would just like to take you back to a little bit into the past, to share a bit of history. So this is a painting from Akbarnama, and this must be about several hundred years ago. And as you can see, elephants are being trained for war in this picture. So domestication of elephants started around 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. That is the actual record, but there have been even paintings of Neolithic paintings of people trying to, capture elephants and to try to work with them. So domestication of elephants is something which has been part of the relationship between elephants and humans, sharing the same geographical area. And can I see the next slide? So this is a painting from war. There were much more graphic paintings, which I didn't want to use because they were very visually painful. And one thing I wanted to, which I forgot to mention in the introduction, was I have tried to avoid very graphic, violent images because it's too, even I cannot bear looking at them because it's very painful. There's a lot of tragedy involved with the life of elephants and with their association with humans. So I didn't want to bring all of that into this talk and to disturb you, because there's plenty of that available on internet. If any of you are seriously interested in seeing and understanding the real situation of conflict and abuse that is happening with elephants, you can look it up on Google, but I deliberately avoided such very graphic, painful imageries. Beside wars, elephants were also used for festivals. This is an image of elephants attending a part of a festival in Kerala. The next one. They were also used for timber hauling, to pull big logs, because when the British East India Company started advancing, another resource that they took away from India was the logs, the important timber that was available abundantly throughout the Indian landscape, and they used elephants to take them out. So timber logging was in practice even up to the late 90s. It's only at the end of the 90s that elephants slowly began to be taken away from the timber logging operations, and they began to be replaced by machines. So, so this is the history of captivity. So since thousands of years, we've been having elephants living along with us, but those were specifically chosen elephants. They were captured from the wild and taken by force to live in with humans to take care of their needs. But then sometimes it so happens that elephants in the wild have come across or by some fate of some wild fate, they happen to come across humans, they happen to wander into human territory, and it ends up in a complete disaster. That is when the conflict between humans and elephants really begins. Because until now, what I was telling you was how elephants were used for conflict or in wars between humans, but now the war has been going on for many years between elephants and humans. Next slide. So when elephants wander into human territory, this is what happens. This is an image of an elephant trying to steal corn. He's not stealing, actually. Stealing is from human perspective, but from the elephant's point of view, he's only feeding on some corn. So he's trying to feed on corn, and this causes problems, obviously, with the farmers. And this problem, we call it the human-elephant conflict. You must have been, since you're all people living in Coimbatore and Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore is now becoming a big hotspot, we call it, for human-elephant conflict, especially the Madukkarai, Ettimade area, then the Velingiri area, Sirvani area. All these areas were relatively very peaceful areas, but now they've become war zones, war between elephants and the farmers and the people living in these fringe areas. The next one. So what do people do? So what happens? The first step is you try to be defensive. You try to keep elephants away. So these are pictures of trenches, we call them. These are huge ditches that people dig along the edge of the forest. So, so that elephants wouldn't cross over, to keep them away. But then this is one method, and the next one. Sometimes now technology has advanced, so now people are using fences, electric fences and solar fences. And ultimately what happens in the middle, at the end of all this conflict, is that the losses are pretty much the same. They're very heavy on both sides. You can see the houses being destroyed by elephants that have come down into human habitations. There must have been some provocation for the elephant to come and destroy the houses. And in reverse, what happens is that there are images of dead elephants that have been either electrocuted or poisoned or shot at by farmers. So the losses are pretty much the same on both sides. And from statistics that if you were to look at statistics, at least 49 to 50, 60 elephants are killed by electrocution every year. That is what the statistics tell us. In the northeast areas like Assam, in Tripura, areas which are close to forests, the death rate, the mortality of elephants is even higher. Sometimes as high as 100 elephants per year die due to human-elephant conflict. The human loss is equally high, because it's said that more than 100 to 300 people die due to human-elephant encounters, when there are encounters with elephants. When people are walking on the roads, people living in these areas, if they're not careful enough, there could be accidents. These encounters, these accidental encounters with elephants can lead to severe mutilation and death of people. So this is the situation of the battleground in our country right now. The next slide. There's a similar battle going on in captivity as well. It is the same elephant, but in different habitats. The wild elephants have issues with humans, with farmers, and in captivity, the elephants are constantly struggling to break their chains and find their way to freedom. So here also, can I see the next one? The next slide, Preeta. So this is an image of an elephant, attacking a vehicle. This is just I've picked up the least violent of images as possible. So the loss of property, often when elephants are upset for many reasons, for biological reasons or for reasons of some provocation, some behavioral provocation that happens, social triggers, environmental triggers that make them upset and make them violent and aggressive towards even the people who are looking after. We call them Mahouts, or the elephant keepers, people who look after the elephants in captivity. Elephants tend to get into conflict with those people as well. And they get so angry, sometimes they destroy property. Sometimes thousands and lakhs of rupees of worth of property is destroyed in such situations. And the next one. This is a situation of an elephant which was taken to a temple procession, and he got upset for some reason, and he was attacking his mahout, the keeper. So it was a very fortunate, it was very fortunate that the man survived, because you can see that the elephant's tusks had dug into the ground and the man could escape from between the legs. But it was a very violent episode. The elephant destroyed a lot of property around the temple campus. Few people were injured during the stampede, and it was a very, very painful and sad situation. Finally, he was tranquilized and brought under control. The next one. So the outcome of all these wars, be it in the wild or be it in captivity, is very sad, more heavier for the elephant, because he loses in the end. It's not the humans who lose in the end, it is the elephant that loses in the end. Most of the time when elephants become problem in the wild, we call them problem elephants. When does an elephant become a problem? When he's not just because he ate a bit of corn or ate a bit of jackfruit or broke someone's house. That is not reason enough. But then when an elephant starts killing people, sometimes some elephants do that. They become habitual killers, because you cannot compare them with the serial killing kind of behavior that some humans exhibit. It's not like that. Some elephants are basically very aggressive, and it really depends on what kind of trauma the animal has gone through, and also the personality of the elephant. So if they have encountered a lot of trauma during their adolescent ages, such elephants become very violent and aggressive, particularly towards humans. So it's such elephants that the government decides to capture. So you have to capture such elephants, because people start complaining, they become a high risk for the people living around. So the government issues orders to capture the elephants. So what you can see on the top is a wooden cage. We call it the kraal. So elephants, when they are captured from the forest, such elephants are tranquilized. People identify the elephant, which is a problem elephant, and there are experts who go out in the field and they tranquilize that elephant and they capture him. They bring him to this kraal, and then once it is inside the kraal, the training begins. It's just like breaking the elephant. We call breaking a horse. But it's much more painful with the elephant because it's much more intelligent and there is a lot more resistance. So the process of breaking an elephant is a very painful process, but it's inevitable. There's nothing else that you can do, because if the elephant has to live in captivity, it has to follow human conditions. So that is how they become domesticated. And below the previous slide, Preeta. Below, what you can see is this doesn't happen in our country, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to put it. These are pictures of dead elephants that have been culled. It's called culling. So in most of the countries other than India, at least in Asian countries, culling is not, that is something that has been practiced. But in African countries, as a part of managing the populations, because It's always a problem when the managing a national park is a big challenge. It is just like managing a school, you know, like a principal manages a school. You have a whole large area, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of land that you have to manage, and there are people living all around you. So there are all kinds of issues. There's lions, there's leopards, there's elephants, all these animals that come into conflict with humans. So the people who manage such national reserves or parks always are careful about managing the populations. It has to be a manageable size. Once the population, they have their own parameters for what is an ideal population for a national park. So once the population mark exceeds, what people in these countries, in the African countries at least, do is they cull elephants. They kill the excess elephants. So this is an image of some elephants that were culled as a part of park management. So that is the outcome, inevitable outcome that comes as which is the fallout of the human-elephant conflict, both in captivity and wild. The next one. So what is the way forward? Coexistence, yes, very easy to speak about it. It sounds very nice on paper, but in practice it is very challenging because it's not that easy, seriously, because for people living in the fringe areas, they're minority farmers who survive only on their only livelihood is this agricultural produce. And since they don't have enough support from the government, they don't have enough insurance coverages, they don't have ample protection, and their crop is threatened by large animals like elephants. There's also monkeys, peacocks, wild boar, so many conflicting situations, and again climate change issues, which again affects the crop patterns, the productivity of the crop. So many issues that are around the situation. So how can an ordinary subsistence farmer think about coexistence? And it is easy for people like us, very privileged. We live in our homes, we live in our city, and we click a like button on our social media platform. Somebody puts up a campaign, save this particular elephant, save that elephant, save this forest. It's very easy to be biased in that way. Yes, we are all, because we have the advantage of being able to think a little more egalitarian and think from a holistic perspective, because we are people who believe that animals and the other living beings have equal right to exist in this world as humans. But not everybody who lives in the field, who lives very close to these animals, can think that way. So is coexistence a possibility? It has to be. That we don't have a choice. It has to be a possibility, but how do we get there is the biggest challenge. It is a process. A lot of measures are being taken up in different areas by people like us, small groups of activists who are trying to experiment and work with the people and work with the animals, work with the government. So there are, but it's a long road. And ultimately, it needs a major shift in attitude towards animals and the immediate environment. Otherwise, there has to be a lot of tolerance from the side of the humans. Otherwise, this is going to be a very sad war where the animals will lose, particularly the elephants. So I have made this talk very brief because I wanted the rest of the time to be dedicated to discussions or questions. So I rest my case for now, and I welcome questions. It's not just questions, you can also share your experiences. You can also contradict what I said. I would be most happy to hear somebody say, I doubt what you said. So please. I see no messages. Nobody has. Is everybody so overwhelmed that they don't have questions, or was it too boring?
No, ma'am. Yeah. So I think I'll ask questions. Not a question, but a doubt. Like, what about the state of elephant in other states in India?
Captive elephants or
Yeah, captive elephants.
yeah, it's pretty much the same. We have captive elephants predominantly in South. Kerala has about Kerala is the place with the highest density. Considering this, the land mass and the number of elephants, we have the elephants. We have the highest density of captive elephants in Kerala, and this is the state which is still very actively involving elephants for various reasons. Whereas the other states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, that has changed quite a bit because Karnataka, they don't have a very strong festival background as such. So it's basically just a Dashara happening in Mysore occasionally where the elephant is used. A few elephants are used. Other than that, there is not much of a use of captive elephants in Karnataka. Tamil Nadu also, but Tamil Nadu used to own a lot of elephants in its temples. And the state of these elephants were really bad. I've seen many of the temples and the elephants in Tamil Nadu, and most of them were kept in very pathetic conditions. But one thing very encouraging is that your chief minister currently has been very proactive with animal welfare. So he's been recently the High Court. I read some of the news. Some of his statements about captive elephants, that they should not be kept anymore in captivity, that they should be kept in camps in the best of conditions. I think that's a remarkable thing. Now, when it comes to the states in North India, most of the elephants in North India are privately owned, and they're in very pathetic conditions. Some of them used to be part of circuses, but now they've all been banned, and most of the circus elephants have been taken away and transferred to rehabilitation centers. And some of the elephants were owned by sadhus, people who pose as sannyasi like people. They have that naga sannyasi kind of a look, and they walk around with the elephant and they make the elephant beg. So there were many such elephants in North India. And in Northeast, elephants are still, there are more than, I think, 2,000 elephants in Assam and most of the northeastern states put together. Assam has the highest concentration of captive elephants because they had a very active logging, timber hauling industry in Assam. And so elephants were used largely for that. And there were a lot of elephants kept in private ownerships. So, but however, there's a lot of awareness now in all of India about animal welfare, animal rights, especially elephant welfare and elephant rights. And the numbers of elephants being captured from the wild has come down remarkably. That is one good thing that you can say. And whatever elephants that are now that you see around in all of these states in captivity are all in their mid, sort of in the prime of their lives. That is in their 40s and 50s, most of them. And once that entire population disappears, we can hope that there will be no more captive elephants. So let's say in another 50, 60 years, the entire captive elephant population will be phased, or the elephants will be phased out of captivity, hopefully. So that is the situation of elephants in India, captive elephants. நீங்க தமிழ்லயும் பேசலாம். எனக்கு தமிழ் I can manage. So if Englishலயே நீங்க கேட்கணுங்கிறது அவசியம் இல்லை. I can understand that some people உங்களுக்கு இங்கிலீஷ்ல தான் கம்யூனிகேட் பண்றதுக்கு ப்ராப்ளம்னா நீங்க அதெல்லாம் நினைக்காதீங்க. I can manage Tamil. அவ்வளோ நல்லா தமிழ் ஒன்றும் எனக்கு இல்லை, பிகாஸ் ஐ பின் அவுட் ஆஃப் டச் வித் தமிழ் ஃபார் வெரி லாங் டைம். தமிழ் பேசி ரொம்ப நாள் ஆச்சு, அதனால கொஞ்சம் மலையாளம் அண்ட் இங்கிலீஷ் நடுவுல வரும். ஆனா கூட ஐ திங்க் ஐ கேன் கம்யூனிகேட். புரியும், நீங்க கேக்குறது புரியும்.
Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. It's Naveen from second year economics.
குட் மார்னிங் நவீன். நேத்து இருந்தீங்களா நீங்க அந்த?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hi.
Ma'am, I have two questions, ma'am. First question, is there any chance of legally adopting elephants, ma'am? As many of my friends are eagerly waiting for adopting elephants, ma'am, as pet.
Epa. Why do you want to do that? Many of my friends are waiting to legally adopt. My God, why don't you think of adopting all these stray dogs that are there? நிறைய இருக்கு ரோட்ல. Why legally adopting elephants? எதுக்கு? As a pet?
Yes, ma'am. அது கொஞ்சம் பாசம் அதிகமா கொடுக்கும், கொஞ்சம் கேர் எடுத்துக்கும், ரொம்ப அறிவுள்ள ஜீவன் வேற, லைக் தட் they are thinking. கொஞ்சம் கேர் எடுக்கும், நம்மளும் கொடுக்கலாம் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி they are thinking, ma'am. Is there any chance, ma'am?
See, forget the chance. Even if there's chance, I won't support you. That is one thing. ஏன்னா நான் because I didn't go into அதெல்லாம் நான் ரொம்ப டீட்டெயிலா சொல்லல. ஏன்னா கேப்டிவிட்டில என்ன நடக்குதுங்கிறது நான் ரொம்ப டீட்டெயிலா சொல்ல, ஏன்னா ரொம்ப பெயின்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கும் நல்ல. பட் நவ் ஐ ரியலைஸ் ஐ ஷுட் ஹவ் டன் தட். பிகாஸ் கேப்டிவிட்டில என்ன நடக்குதுன்னா, நான் அந்த ஸ்லைட் காட்டினேன்ல, யானைய வந்து கூட்டுல புடிச்சு எப்படி காட்டுல இருந்து எப்படி மெருக்குறாங்கிறத அந்த ஒரு சின்னதா ஒரு பாத்தீங்களா, ஞாபகம் இருக்கான்னு தெரியல, ஒரு மரத்துல ஒரு கூட்டுல யானை நிக்கிறது பாத்தீங்களா? அந்த ஒரு யானைய காட்டுல இருந்து புடிச்சு நாட்டுல ஒரு நாட்டானையா அத மெருக்கிற அந்த ப்ரோசஸ் இருக்கே, அது ரொம்ப பெயின்ஃபுல். அது யானைக்கு ஒரு கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு வருஷம் ஆகும் ஒரு யானைய ட்ரெயின் பண்றதுக்கு, சரியா? and that 1 year training, the animal undergoes a lot of physical, mental stress and torture. ஏன்னா அது வந்து ஒரு யானை, அது வந்து ரொம்ப ஃப்ரீயா அலைஞ்சு அப்படியே ஜாலியா காட்டுல இருந்த அந்த யானைய அதுக்கு பிடிக்காத ஒரு இடத்துல அதை கூட்டிட்டு வந்து அதோட ஃபேமிலியில இருந்து எல்லாம் அதை பிரிச்சு, அதுக்கு குடும்பம் இருக்கு இல்லையா, அதுக்கு ஒரு ஃபேமிலி இருக்கு, அந்த ஃபேமிலியில இருந்து அதை பிரிச்சு இங்க தனியா கொண்டு வந்து கூட்டிட்டு வந்து அதுக்கு பிடிக்காத சாப்பாடு கொடுத்து என்னென்னமோ பாஷையில அதை பேசி அடிச்சு உதைச்சு அத அப்படியே டாமினேஷன் நடக்குது அங்க. அந்த டாமினேஷனுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் அந்த யானைய மெருக்கிட்டோங்கிறது அந்த ஒரு நம்மளோட ஒரு ஈகோ. யானைய மெருக்கியாச்சுங்கிற மாதிரி நம்ம நினைக்கிறோம். அந்த யானைய நம்ம இதுல செயின்ல போட்டு சங்கிலியில போட்டு கூட்டிட்டு போறோம் அங்க இங்க. அதை வச்சு டிஃப்ரெண்ட் பீப்புள் யூஸ் இட் ஃபார் டிஃப்ரெண்ட். சரி, நீங்க அதெல்லாம் பண்ணாம சும்மா வீட்டுல அதை வச்சிருக்கீங்கன்னா அது என்ன ஒரு தப்பு தான் அது. ஏன்னா அந்த யானைக்கு பேச முடியும்னா நீங்க வேணா அதை கேட்டு பாருங்க. ஜஸ்ட் ஃபார் ஒரு இதுக்கு நீங்க யோசிச்சு பாருங்க, அந்த யானைக்கு பேச முடியுங்கிறத நீங்க நினைச்சுக்கோங்க. ஜஸ்ட் இமேஜின். அது என்ன சொல்லும்? நவீன், எதுக்கு நீ என்ன இங்க கூட்டிட்டு வந்த? நாங்க ஜாலியா நல்ல சூப்பரா லைஃப் வாழ்ந்துட்டு இருந்தாங்க காட்டுல, ஈஸியா ஃப்ரீடம், எனக்கு அவ்வளோ ஃப்ரீடம் இருந்தது. அப்படி எனக்கு பிடிச்ச மாதிரி எனக்கு பிடிச்ச என்னோட ஃபேமிலி கூட நான் சுத்திட்டு இருந்தேன். என்ன நீ அங்கேருந்து எதுக்கு இங்க கூட்டிட்டு வந்து இங்க என்ன எனக்கு பிடிக்கவே இல்லை, ஏன் என்ன எப்படி செயின்ல போட்டிருக்க, எனக்கு திருப்பி போகணும்னு தான் அந்த யானை சொல்லும். இதெல்லாம் கேட்டுட்டும் உங்களுக்கு இப்பவும் அந்த லீகல் அடாப்ஷன் ஐடியா மனசுல இருக்கா நவீன்?
தெளிவா சொல்லிடுறேன்.
அப்படின்னா நீங்க உங்க ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ இத சொல்லி கொடுங்க. நீங்க அவங்க இந்த டாக்குக்கு வரல, ஒருவேளை இந்த டாக்குக்கு வந்திருந்தாங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கும் உங்க மனசு மாறிடுச்சு. எனக்கு அதுதான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் தெரியணும். நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் உங்களுக்கு வேணும், உங்க ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸுக்கும் வேணும்னு கேட்டீங்க, சும்மா சொல்லாதீங்க.
இல்ல மேம், அவங்களுக்காண்டி தான் கேட்டேன் நானு. அவங்களுக்காண்டி தான் கேட்டேன், ஒரு ரெப்ரசன்டேட்டிவா தான் கேட்டேன்.
சரி, நம்பிட்டேன். சரி, அப்படியா? என்ன ஒரு ஃப்ரெண்ட் குரூப் உங்களுக்கு. சரி, அவங்க கிட்ட சொல்லுங்க, இப்படி எல்லாம் இந்த மேடம் இப்படி எல்லாம் அந்த அக்கா வந்து அப்படி எல்லாம் சொன்னாங்க, இன்னும் உனக்கு அது வேணுமான்னு கேளுங்க. சரியா? அது எக்ஸ்பிளைன். பிகாஸ் இட் இஸ் ராங் டு கீப் அனிமல்ஸ் லைக் தட், எஸ்பெஷலி இன்டெலிஜென்ட் அனிமல்ஸ். இப்போ உங்களை எப்படி பண்ணாங்கன்னா எப்படி இருக்கும்? உங்களோட அதே ஒரு 6-7 வயசு குழந்தையோட இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ் இருக்கு அந்த யானைக்குன்னு சொல்றாங்க எக்ஸ்பர்ட்ஸ். எனக்கும் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இருக்கு. ஏன்னா நம்மளுக்கு இருக்கிற அதே ஹியூமன் இமோஷன்ஸ் அதுக்கும் இருக்கு நவீன். நம்மளுக்கு பாசம் இருக்கு, இப்ப நம்மளுக்கு அவ்வளோ க்ளோஸா ஒருத்தங்க இறந்துட்டாங்கன்னா எத்தனை பெயின் இருக்கும். அதே பெயின் அதை விட சம்டைம்ஸ் யூ ஃபீல் ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தி பெயின் அது எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் பண்றது. அப்புறம் அதுக்கும் பாசம் இருக்கு. அது அவங்களோட குரூப்ல யாருக்காவது ஏதாவது ஒரு அடிபட்டுச்சுன்னா எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து அது பக்கத்துல அப்படியே நின்று தொட்டு இது சமாதானம் பண்ணிட்டு அது சரியாகிற வரைக்கும் அவங்க அவ்வளோ கேர் எடுத்துப்பாங்க. அதே மாதிரி அவங்களுக்கு கோபம் இருக்கு, பொறாமை இருக்கு. Can you imagine? அப்புறம் அந்த லோன்லினஸ், போர் அடிக்கும் யானைக்கு. Only intelligent animals species can experience boredom. மாடுக்கு போர் அடிக்குதுன்னு சொன்னா நம்மளுக்கு ஓகே, இட் இஸ் நாட் பாசிபிள். பட் யானைக்கு எலிஃபென்ட்ஸ் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் போர்டம். நம்மளுக்கெல்லாம் போர் அடிக்கிற மாதிரி அதுக்கும் போர்டம் இருக்கு. ஸோ தட் ஷோஸ் என்னது, அதோட இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ் அவ்வளோ ஹையா இருக்கு. இத்தனை நம்மள மாதிரியே ஒரு க்ளோஸ் டு அவர் ஹியூமன் இமோஷன்ஸ் அதை எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் பண்ணுதுன்னா கண்டிப்பா உங்களுக்கு ஜஸ்ட் திங்க் லைக் தி எலிஃபென்ட். எப்படி இருக்கும் அதை நீங்க உங்க வீட்டுல கொண்டு எவ்வளவு பெரிய நீங்க கோல்டன் பெட் எல்லாம் போட்டு கொடுத்தாலும் தெர் இஸ் நோ யூஸ். ஃப்ரீடம் இஸ் த மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் திங். அது காட்டுல ஒருவேளை அதுக்கு சாப்பாடு இருக்காது, ஒருவேளை சில டைம்ல தண்ணி இருக்காது, அதெல்லாம் இருக்கும் காட்டுல, பட் ஸ்டில் இட் இஸ் ஃப்ரீ இல்லையா? விச் இஸ் மோர் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் டு யூ? உங்களுக்கு எது ரொம்ப முக்கியம் லைஃப்ல? சரி, உங்களுக்கு ஒருத்தர் உங்களை கூட்டுல போட்டிருக்காங்க, எங்கேயாவது ரூம்ல அடைச்சு போட்டிருக்காங்க, அங்க உங்களுக்கு ஃபுல் ஜாலி ரிசார்ட் மாதிரி எல்லாருக்கும் கம்ப்ளீட் ஏசி, இன்டர்நெட் ஃபுல் டைம், ஃபுல் வைஃபை, ஆக்சஸ் டு ஃபுட், உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்ச ஃபுட் கிடைக்குது, உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்ச மாதிரி என்ன வேணாலும் அந்த ரூமுக்குள்ளதான். பட் வெளியில போக முடியாது. யூ ஹாவ் நோ ஃப்ரீடம். எவ்வளவு நாள் உங்களால அப்படி இருக்க முடியும்?
Not maximum 1 day.
Because sorry,
1 டேக்கு மேல இருக்க முடியாது மேம். 1 டேவே கஷ்டம் தான்.
அப்ப நினைச்சு பாருங்க, வாழ்க்கை பூரா அப்படி இருக்கணும் இந்த யானைக்குன்னா எப்படி இருக்கும்? So think like that. Always put yourself. அதுதான் எம்பத்தி இல்லாததுனாலதான் நம்மளுக்கு எல்லாம் இது புரியாம இருக்கு. எம்பத்தினா என்னது தெரியுமா? எம்பத்தினா நம்ம இன்னொருத்தவங்களோட கஷ்டத்தை அவங்க புரிஞ்சுக்கிற மாதிரி நம்மளும் புரிஞ்சுக்கிறது. we are actually experiencing that. சரி, சிம்பத்தி, ஓ பாவம், அந்த மாதிரி சொல்லிட்டு போறது இல்லை. யூ ஆக்சுவலி ஃபீல் இட். அதுக்கு கால் வலிக்குதுன்னா நம்மளுக்கும் அந்த வலி ஃபீல் பண்ற மாதிரி இருக்கணும். அதுதான் எம்பத்தி. அந்த எம்பத்தி இருந்தாதான் இதெல்லாம் நம்மளால என்ன சொல்றது, அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்ண முடியும். அது இல்லாததுனாலதான் உலகத்துல இப்படி எல்லாம் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. இப்போ நாட் ஜஸ்ட் டு அனிமல்ஸ், டு எனிபடி, டு சில்ட்ரன், டு விமென், எல்லாமே அந்த எம்பத்தியோட ஒரு இல்லாததுனால. ஸோ ப்ளீஸ் சேஞ்ச் யுவர் மைண்ட். ஐ ஹோப் யூ சேஞ்ச் யுவர் மைண்ட். உங்க ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸையும் கண்டிப்பா இத புரிய வைங்க நீங்க. அண்ட் வீல் டாக் லேட்டர். ஐ வில் கேட்ச் அப் வித் யூ.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll watch you.
Okay.
My eyes are on you.
Okay.
Thank you, Naveen.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, so there is a question from Aishwarya. So she's asking if you could suggest any small steps a student can take against elephant abuse.
Against elephant abuse?
Like she's asking if you could suggest some small steps that a student can take.
Yeah, it depends on where you're living and how close you are to, such situations. If you're in Tamil Nadu, is there any elephant around you that is going through any kind of a problem in captivity? And basically, the thing is to stop thinking that, because there's a lot of myth that is being generated around the elephant. For instance, I'll just tell you why. Because there is a lot of awareness required about elephants. That's the first thing you can do as a student. Try to understand. Because see, I am from Kerala, but I have not grown up in Kerala, fortunately, for many reasons. I have been living most of my education I did in Tamil Nadu and outside in many other states. So that has given me a very objective way. I'm not very culturally attached to Kerala or any state for that matter. The closest I can say is Tamil Nadu. So what I'm trying to explain is that we all become biased. See, around elephants, there are so many cultural myths, Terima. People, especially in Kerala, people think that even educated people who are very rational for other things, they think like, oh, elephant loves music, so that is why it is waving its ears. See, in Kerala, we have I don't know how many of you have watched the festivals where elephants participate. There is this percussion program called Panchavadyam and Melam and all that. Lot of drums, chenda, maddalam are all used. It's a beautiful, like that part is extremely beautiful. But the elephants are also part of that. So it's usually in April, May when it's the hottest part, very humid in Kerala. Temperatures can go up to 40, 42 degrees. And the time in the veil, this percussion thing is going on. And the elephants have been standing like this for hours. It's very crowded, and all these male elephants are forced to stand together, close, like just 10 feet apart. And people say, oh, see, look at this elephant. He's enjoying the music. He loves being here in the part of the Puram. And there is all this fan base and fandom around elephants in Kerala. And seriously, I mean, if you're a person who uses you don't even have to study biology. If you're a sensible, rational person, you can understand the elephant is not enjoying it. For one, it has become, the thing is that elephants become very conditioned after many, many years of such forceful situations and such forceful training and abuse. They are forced to stand like that. It's not that they enjoy the crowds. They're very sensitive to noise. They're very sensitive to heat. And also, depending on what biological state they're in, two male elephants who are not at all related cannot stand each other. In the wild, if you see two elephants from two territories, if they come together, they fight. So everything is unnatural around them. And people think, even sensible people think, that this is something wonderful, that the elephant loves Panchavadyam, that the elephant is moving its ears based on playing to the beat of the Panchavadyam and the percussion. I'm like this is just one popular myth that goes around. So what I'm trying to tell you is that make yourself aware about the animal's biology, and try not to fall for such cultural myths. That is the second thing you can do. And the third is try to find out if there are any abuses that are going on, not just with elephants, with any animal. Animal abuse is happening all around you. If you just open your eyes, you can see it. It starts from just your domestic pets, to pets around in your neighborhood, to stray animals, birds, cats, bats, because we don't see them. They're mostly nocturnal, so we don't know. A lot of bats, sometimes get trapped on fences, and everywhere around you see animal abuse and animal rights being violated. So the first thing that you can do is, if you are somebody who wants to understand and be involved in these issues, try to collect more knowledge and data about what is around you. Understand the species that are around you. What state are they in? And then try to get in touch with any animal welfare organization that is there in your city or state. Coimbatore has a lot of such organizations. There is something called Zoo Outreach Organization where I started my career. It is near Pilamedu side. It is. Then you have WWF. There are many organizations. So you just have to go on the internet and then just get in touch with those people and see if you can start some project with them. You can also take up small projects as a part of your study or internship. If you are a psychology student, you can take up animal psychology as one of your, small papers, research papers. If you are a political science student, there is so much you can work on animal welfare laws, because the laws are in a pathetic state. There is no legal, kind of a protection for domestic animals, and even for a national animal like the elephant, which is highly endangered. So you can do legal policy making work. You can try to understand the laws that are happening, that are there, the policies that are around. If you're a social worker, somebody doing MSW or things like that, you can get involved with creating awareness. So as a student, you can start, because I started like that. I finished my degree in 93 from Avnashlingam. I did my botany zoology, and I had no idea. I wish at that time somebody was there to guide me, but there was nobody there. I wanted to get involved with something like this because I grew up watching all these documentaries about Jane Goodall and, all these wonderful people working in Africa, and I wanted to do something like that, but I didn't know how to do that. And then somehow I came to know about this organization in Pilumedu. I went there, I got a job, and that's how my career started. So there are so many ways for you to, and you don't even have to take it as a full-time profession. You can have a serious career, but this could also be something that you're volunteering. You could spend a little bit of your time and energy doing that. So there are many options. A little bit of your time and energy on this.
Nipha, good morning. I am Vijayan Punato. Can I come in for a minute?
Sorry?
I am Vijayan
Who's
Punato.
this? Sorry?
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I am Vijayan Punato from Thrissur, Vadakanjeri.
Oh, aha. Hi.
Yes. So, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Unfortunately, due to connectivity problems, I missed the earlier part of your intro or presentation. So, I'm not asking anything with reference to what you told already, but generally. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay, right. Yeah. You see, as we all know, the large chunk of captive elephants are in Kerala. Say maybe Guruvayur temple has got the largest population, I think, of captive elephants. Plus, there are so many temples and other this thing. So, isn't it high time that there should be an institutional mechanism where the Mahouts are given proper training as to how to handle these species with all care, understanding, like especially on the psychology part of the elephants, how to deal with them and all that. So I don't think there is any formal mechanism or any system in place how to educate or create awareness among the Mahouts on how to treat the elephants. Yes. Is there any system in place as of now?
Not as of now, but before answering that question, see, this is the sort of myth or assumption that most people have, that Mahouts are the sole reason why elephants are being abused. See, so I was part of a training program called the Mahouts training program that that happened in 94, I think, 94, 95. And that was the first innovative attempt to formally train Mahouts. Mahouts are elephant keepers, like I mentioned earlier to the other participants. This was the first formal attempt to address this group and to have a formally trained cadre of Mahouts, like you suggested. And it was a brilliant idea. We had, I was part of it, I was coordinating it. I was also being trained as a Mahout. And my job was to not only coordinate, but also to bring out a manual on elephant keeping, because this entire tradition is oral. It's passed on orally from the senior to the junior, and it goes like that. This has not been formally documented anywhere. So the idea was to be able to document as much as possible of this traditional and indigenous knowledge system of caring for elephants. And I was trying to do that. In the process, I was also doing hands-on training myself, because I had to understand what was actually going on there. And I personally was trained for almost 2 years. I was trained under a very senior Mahout of Kerala Forest Department. And At the end of this 2-year experience, my hands-on experience with elephants in various conditions, I had been to timber mills, to forests. I had worked with calves, with musk elephants. I was fortunate enough to have been exposed to the various dimensions of captive elephant keeping. And I understood that the mahout is just one part of the problem. The problem, why are elephants being abused? Is not just because mahouts are not trained or not equipped enough. I found that the mahouts were much more empathetic. They were much more humane to the elephants than the system that was there. The system is such, the cultural, the cultural system that exists, that has a demand for captive elephants, is very oppressive when it comes to the elephants and the mahouts. So that is where then, once I realized that is when I shifted my attention to trying to change or address those issues. For instance, see, there are many socio-economic dimensions also. See, if a person is an elephant owner, he spends lakhs of rupees buying an elephant. It's not just because he wants to keep it as a pet. He's also thinking of some kind of an income, at least not like a major income source, but at least some means so that the expenses will be taken care of. Because taking care of one elephant in those days cost up to 50,000 rupees per month. This was in the 90s, in the early 90s. And 50,000 rupees per month, 50 to 70,000. That was the expenditure required for an elephant per month. So obviously the owner will want to cover that expenses, and if possible to get some kind of a money out of it. So whether the mahout likes it or not, he's forced to take these elephants to all these parades day after day after day. That is one aspect. And the temple committees also. The temple committees are the fan base of Kerala has created this unnatural demand on certain elephants. We have certain star quality elephants, which are above 9 feet. We have superstars in our film industry. There are also superstars in the captive elephant industry, high in demand. There are some 5 to there are some top elephants throughout Kerala, which are very popular, and people create that demand. And the life of such top class elephants is miserable. They travel how many kilometers in a month? Earlier, they used to walk. An elephant used to walk 40, 50 kilometers per day to get from one place to the other, because the booking is already done. So even if the elephant is not in the mood to walk, he's very tired, he's sick, or the mahout doesn't want to take the elephant, he has no choice. He has to be there because the festival is booked already. People are expecting him. There is social pressure. There is economic pressure. So people are forced to do that. So there are all these systems that are there that are very oppressive, and just addressing the mahouts and training the mahouts alone is not enough, because the well-trained mahout, what can he do? Because we used to teach at the mahout training course, an elephant is only supposed to walk 10 to 15 kilometers a day, or even lesser. But you teach them all this. Tomorrow, there were like 6 to 8 graduates with me in these last 2 years. All these guys, when they went back to work, they were saying, Chechi, what can we do? We learned all this in our training. All these professors came and told us, you have to look after the elephant like this, bathe the elephant twice a day, give him 250 kilos of fodder every day, give him 250 liters of water every day. Where is the time? Because they can't sleep. Today they're in Palakkad, tomorrow morning they're in Thrissur. 40, 50 kilometers, they're traveling overnight to get to Thrissur. If they are like 10 minutes or 5 minutes late, immediately the temple committee is like, manhandling, doesn't even get a time to rest. I mean, they're almost, sprinting, because from Palakkad to Thrissur, he has to get there at a certain time. The festival muhurtam is set. He has to be there by that time. And he has to walk all the way. And then after coming here, the poor elephant and the mahout, they don't get the time to rest or to eat anything or to even drink or even get a bit of water. Immediately, the people with the, those decorations, we call it the nettipatam and all those, those decorations that you saw in the slide, that immediately that goes on top of the elephant. And the elephant is ready for the festival, how will the elephant react? At least humans, they can shout. Or how is the elephant going to react? So these are some of the realities that are there. Mr. Vijayan, I'm glad you raised this question, but there is another side to all this. Yes, mahouts, there are a lot of poorly trained mahouts, but there's also this equally important other side which has to be addressed. I've been told by the moderator that we are running out of time. It's up to you, Preeta.
Is there any question?
We have two questions.
Yeah, please, we can take that also. Then we can write.
Okay, ma'am. One is from YouTube. Person Sanbalon, someone, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. The question is, can you talk about the aspects of captivity with domestication? Are elephants socio-biologically adapted akin to dogs, or are they actually captive? So this is the question, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, nice question. See, domestication is very different depending on the species. For instance, cats and dogs, they have been domesticated or very close to humans for a very long time. See, if a cat really loves you, or they will come back to you. You let the cat out, it has voluntarily, it will come back to you. So that means the cat has been domesticated, meaning it is very comfortable with humans, but it is not the case with elephants. At least most of the elephants. There are a few cases where there's a personal attachment to certain people. For instance, the owner has a very special attachment, or the elephant has some attachment to some particular, either its trainer, the mahout, or maybe the owners or somebody there. But those are very personal attachments. But that doesn't mean the elephant will come back to you and sit very quietly in your stable like the cow. Cows, what happens? They finish grazing. You just let them loose. Evening, they come back on their own. But it is not the same with elephants, because they are not basically meant for that kind of a life. So they are not sociobiologically constructed to be domesticated. There are too many other physiological, biological factors, behavioral aspects also that come into play. But since we are short of time, I'm not going to too many details. I'm just trying to simplify it as much as possible.
Thank you, ma'am. We have our final question from Maithili. The question is, what would be the life of conditioned elephant after rescued from the captivity? Would they be able to adapt to wildlife again?
Brilliant question, Maithili. $1 million question that people like us are trying to answer. Like I was telling you, there is all this abuse happening in Kerala. Almost every elephant in Kerala in captivity is abused in some form or the other. It's the degree which changes. So there have been so many talks, attempts. I myself have initiated the rehabilitation of 1 or 2 elephants. And sadly, there is a limit to how much you can do for them in captivity, because like I said, they need space and we are short of space. Because one elephant, to ideally rehabilitate an elephant means letting it off chains, letting it roam around freely, which is not possible in captive conditions. You need acres and acres of land to do that, which is very difficult to find, and it's too expensive. The second thing is, let's say at some point, hypothetically, the government comes to a policy, decides to make a policy to release all the captive elephants into the wild. What is going to happen? So what do you think will happen? I'm just putting the question back at you. They're very intelligent animals. They're conditioned to a way of living. They will not be able to thrive in the wild. And in Kerala's situation, the thing is almost 90% of our elephants are male tuskers. So tuskers are very territorial. They are also loners, meaning they're solitary animals. So in biology, solitary animal means they like to live alone, because their temperament is like that. Whereas the female elephants are usually in herds. They stay together in groups. Whereas the male elephant, once it grows older, when it's beyond 25, 30, it moves away from the herd and then they walk around alone. Ottayan, they say. In Tamil, I don't know what you say. In Kerala, we call it, Malayalam, we call Ottayan. Ottayan means a single elephant, solitary elephant. So such elephants are basically very aggressive. They're very dangerous. And already we have issues of wild elephants getting involved in crop raiding. Elephants, eating crops and, damaging property. So can you imagine you'll release all these elephants into the wild? Let's say we have the forest cover also available for all these 2,000 to 3,000 captive elephants. But what is going to, they are not going to just go away into the forest and disappear. They will keep living in the fringes and always constantly coming in contact with humans. And another advantage is that, another problem is that wild elephants basically have a fear of humans. But captive elephants do not have that because they're conditioned to working with humans. So they will become even more aggressive because fear is actually a very good defense mechanism when it comes to animals. Even humans, fear is very important for your survival. They say, when there is a crisis, edavadhu oru problem irukumbodhu, two reactions, there are two ways of reacting, either fight or flight. Flight means running, odi poradhu. Onnu nama vandu adu we will fight with that situation, illati nama odi povom. Idhula edavadhu onnu dhaan nadakum. It's the same thing. So when you are afraid of something, you will run away for your own survival. But captive elephants ku enna avangalukku bayam illa. They're used to humans. So ella human kittayum avanga matta humans kitta palagra madri avanga pazhaya life la avanga eppadi palagunangalo andha madri avanga vandu they'll start in trying to come in close contact with humans, which will become a problem. Ilya? So all these challenges are there. So the possibility of releasing all these elephants back into the wild is, it's not possible. It's impossible. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess we're done for the day. And thank you so much for such a wonderful session. I was wondering, like usually it's the most challenging part is the discussion part, because you don't know, you can almost kind of prepare for most of the questions, but sometimes some brilliant question comes along and makes you want to think and research more and to start thinking in a different way. So this was a very exhilarating session. This was useful to many of you. I hope this will invoke the empathy inside each and every one of us. And we hope we start looking at animals and the species around us in a different light. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm once again thankful to Preeta and the Sustainable Committee members. I completely enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you, participants, for coming up with questions, and thank you, ma'am, for answering them. So now, to deliver the vote of thanks, I call upon Naveen. Naveen, over to you.
Thank you, Mudra. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to Ms. Niba Namudri for sharing your insightful thoughts on elephants' lifestyle and how are they addressed by us, and especially staffs for the perfect support and guidance for this event. I would also like to express our profound gratitude to the participants for your presence in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a good day.